Assalamu alaikum, my dear students. Hope and pray you are in the peak, you are hale and hearty at home. Today, students, we shall talk about the first poem that's in your syllabus, and the name of the poem is Prayer, and it's penlocked by G.A.Mahjoor. He's a famous Kashmiri poet. Before talking about the poem or the poet, I would love to clarify the distinction between prose and poetry. Yes, students. Prose and poetry. Before jumping into the poetry, let me tell you what does prose exactly stand for. If you ask me, students, what's a prose, I'll define prose like this. A prose is a spoken or written language that's not metrically versified. A spoken or written language that's not metrically versified. When I said spoken or written language, it means that prose is inclusive in all discourses. It's either spoken or written, but there is no meter, there is no versification. यानी my dear students, इसमें मीटर नहीं होता है, रिदम राइम नहीं होता है, इसमें वर्सिफिकेशन नहीं होती है. वर्सिफिकेशन का मतलब होता है इसमें लाइंस नहीं होते, जैसे आप पोइट्री में रिदम, राइम, एलिट्रेशन, एसोनेंस को देखते हैं, इसमें वो सारी चीजें नहीं होते. So far as the origin of this prose is concerned, it takes its origin from Latin language prosa oratio. Prosa oratio. What does prosa oratio mean? Prosa oratio means straightforward. Yes. Straightforward. यानी जो प्रोज राइटर्स होते हैं वो अपनी बात बड़े, उसमें कोई डेकोरेशन नहीं होते, वो स्ट्रेट फॉरवर्ड होते हैं. दे आर वेरी वेरी स्ट्रेट फॉरवर्ड इन देयर लैंग्वेज. प्लस प्रोज राइटर्स क्या करते हैं अपने लैंग्वेज में, अपने प्रोज में ये कन्वर्सेशनल टून सेट करते हैं. प्लस प्रोज में और एक चीज होती है, इट्स इन अ प्रॉपर ग्रामेटिकल स्ट्रक्चर. देयर इज अ प्रॉपर ग्रामेटिकल स्ट्रक्चर जो कि पोइट्री में नहीं होता है. पोइट्री ज्यादातर मेटाफोरिक होती है. करेंगे बात कभी प्रॉपर ग्रामेटिकल स्ट्रक्चर. और जो प्रोज होता है ये ज्यादा लेंथी होता है बनस्बते पोइट्री. आई होप इट्स क्लियर टू यू. नाउ if we talk about poetry, what's poetry? The first and the foremost thing about poetry is that it has got no definition. Because you cannot define poetry in a particular context. Different poets they define it poetry in their own way. Wordsworth, poetry is a spontaneous word full of powerful emotions and expression. Some others define it in their own way. So simply, what's the layman's definition of poetry? It's poetry is the rhythmic way of expression. It's a rhythmic way of expression. अब पोइट्री में ज्यादा चीज क्या होती है जो प्रोज में नहीं होता है? There is rhythm, there is rhyme, there are some metaphors, similes, assonance, consonants, and so on and so forth. और इन चीजों की वजह से पोइट्री में क्या आ जाता है? पोइट्री में म्यूजिक आ जाता है. पोइट्री में क्या आ जाता है? म्यूजिक आ जाता है. How does music come into poetry? Music comes into poetry through assonance, alliteration, onomatopoeia, rhythm, rhyme, right? Now the question is whether rhythm, rhyme, onomatopoeia, prosody, versification is important. Yes, it has its own advantages. The first advantage is it's easy to memorize. Poetry is easy to memorize. Poetry is easy to memorize and it's very close to human heart. It has appealing nature. Poetry is very close to human instincts, human emotions. You would never forget a poem. You would never forget a verse from any poem. Say for example, woods are lovely, dark and dreary, but I have promises to keep and miles to go before I sleep. Or दयारे इश्क में अपना मकाम पैदा कर, नया ज़माना है, नई सुबह और शाम पैदा कर. In fact, I tried to forget this, but I still remember it. Do you know why? Because it has an appealing power. It is very close to human heart. Poetry is very close to human heart. Poetry is very close to human heart. I hope you understand the difference between prose and poetry. Now, coming to the poem, now we'll talk about the writer of this poem. Let's not go into the poem today. We'll be talking about the detailed analysis of the poem some other day or in the days to come. Today, let me talk about G.A.Mahjoor. Who was this man, G.A.Mahjoor? My dear students, G.A.Mahjoor is the noted and renowned Kashmiri poet. He was born on, this is date of birth, he was born on 11th of August 1887 at Mitrigam in Pulwama, in South Kashmir, Pulwama, right? So, this is his date of death, 9th of April 1952. Anyway, students, G.A.Mahjoor is famous for his pen name Mahjoor. He is famous by the pen name Mahjoor. ये महजूर नाम से जाना जाता है and Mahjoor means sort of isolated person. अगर आपसे कोई पूछे स्टूडेंट्स इसका नाम ये महजूर नाम से क्यों मशहूर है, तो आप स्टूडेंट्स उसको कैटेगोरिकली कह सकते हैं कि महजूर when he undertook a visit to पंजाब, एक दिन ये पंजाब जाता है और पंजाब में क्या करता है, जब ये पोइट्री लिखना शुरू कर देता है अंडर द इन्फ्लुएंस ऑफ शुबली नामानी, जो एक ग्रेट उर्दू पोइट है, वहीं पे ये इस पेन नाम से मशहूर हो जाता है. So far as his contribution is concerned, his contribution towards literature is immense. ठीक है? He wrote his first Kashmiri poet Vantahe Visiye. And G.A.Mahjoor is the first Kashmiri poet who incorporated themes like freedom and progress in Kashmir. He talked about love. He talked about communal harmony. He talked about the plights in Kashmir. And he is the only Kashmiri poet on whom a full-length movie was made, namely G.A.Mahjoor, Mahjoor. And he is really the legend of his time. So, this is all for today. I'll stop here. Tomorrow we'll talk about the poem. Thank you. Bye-bye.